prime creator.
Okay.
Right? We all know her because she flat out tell you what she feels. She don't care. Fuck your feelings. I'm gonna tell you, you need to go wash your stinking ass. Right? So I don't care if you get your feelings hurt. I shouldn't have never had to tell you. Right? Or Big Mama say, that's not how you raise that child. If you raise that child that way, you're gonna have a predator when you get older. Right? Big Mama.
Right.
The one take her shoe off and throw it across the room and bop you upside your head when you ain't listening. Big Mama. She behaves that way because she's the embodiment in the physical form of prime creator who be telling you what's right, and don't have no regard for your emotions, because your emotions is only your navigation system. You ain't supposed to live in your emotions. You're supposed to read them. They telling you something. Are they in context or are they not in context? Right? So Big Mom, Joe used certain kind of ways to move your emotions into the right position. Right? Are you coachable? Big Mama gonna let you know if you're coachable, because she gonna keep telling you what to do in such a rude manner. If you take it personal, you're gonna feel some type of way. But if you realize her character, she ain't gonna never tell you nothing that's gonna hurt you. Everything she tell you, if you listen to her, it's gonna be for your betterment and your upliftment, and for you to raise the children in a better way than you was raised. It might have took her grandkids to find out where she made her mistakes as a parent. Now she can tell you, I did that when y'all was growing up, but y'all can't do that with this generation because it's not required. It's outdated now. Right? Because I've seen this happen over the years, and this is where we at now. So we, instead of teaching them sports all the time, we need to buckle down academically. Right? Big Mama tell you the wise things. And when you run across them, you know them, because everything they say be so spot on, you just don't like the way she said it. But that ain't her business for you to like it. Her business is to tell you the truth.
Right.
Now, some Big Mamas, they call mud deer. Mud deer is just as mean, but she talk to you a little nicer than Big Mama. That's the only difference. Because she grew up from a priestess stock, she understands the nature of people from a different angle than the one that grew up as the heir to the throne, who have to be mean to keep the riffraff away. Right? So when you hear the youth talking about, I don't want to go to Big Mama house, them the ones that's going to be errant. You already know. Why you don't want to go to Big Mama house? Because she going to make me be still. You got to learn how to be still when it's time to be still, and move when it's time to move. Big Mama know nobody's not teaching you that, baby, so she has to teach it to you. That's why she tell you to sit down and be still, while she letting the rest of the kids play, because you the one need to learn how to sit down and be still before you step your ass in some shit you can't get out of. You know? We don't know how to read our women no more because they took that out of us. Now we got to be macho. We got to give orders all day. We drill sergeants in the house for the system. And don't let me bring up domestic violence, which I call it a hostage situation disguised as a love affair. She want to leave, but she can't leave because if she try to leave, he gonna beat her ass. That's a hostage.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of women are stuck in that situation. I just saw something play out over the last couple of weeks. With the nature.
Right, I'm talking to one they call Master Farah Muhammad, the Sufi mystic, the one that they're trying to figure out what happened to him. And I know what happened to him, and I know where he at. I know where the body was, and all that. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not necessary for this video. Master Farah Muhammad told me the reason why he was all wrinkled and aged. He said because he was done with this physical form. He said, I began to eat 3 meals a day. I said, well, why would you do that if you're supposed to eat 1 meal a day and you're supposed to do everything according to righteousness? He said, look, I ate 3 meals a day because it accelerates my decay. It accelerates my breakdown. It didn't make no sense to me. I didn't realize until last year after my graduation it was a riddle. And this is what the riddle was. He was telling me that at this day and time, the old ways would be hampered by greed. That's what he was telling me. When he showed himself as being aged, he's telling me this is the old ways. This is the old stuff, the old energy. And it's going to be hampered from the rebirth of the new energy by the 3 meals a day represented the greed. Because according to How to Eat to Live, if you're eating 3 meals a day, you're greedy. That's just that simple. You're greedy. 7 deadly sins. Jealousy, envy, lust, greed, number 4. So greedy, what would make a person greedy? Deprivation. Deprivation is the fertilizer for greed. Who's been deprived? The American so-called Negro. Since he's been here, he's been deprived. Been deprived of everything that the Christ was deprived of in the crucifixion. He's been deprived of knowledge itself. Thorns on his head. Deprived of the right to build his own stuff with his hands nailed to the cross. Deprived of the right to walk the land freely with his feet nailed to the cross. And his blood has been contaminated against his will, thus seen by the spirit of destiny as it mixes the blood in the urine. It's in your face. But I have to show you that it's in your face or you won't believe me. It's right there. The whole story is right there. So the judgment that Anu, who was authorized to issue a judgment because his rank was higher, issued the judgment on Nebuchadnezzar as the story is told. That's Hiram. That's the story of Hiram. Part of it. Part of it is in Ezekiel. Some of it is in the other lesser prophets. It's all there though. It's broke up. They use homonyms and synonyms. All of this stuff is relevant. They use star charts to confuse you because they know the stars not going to change. And that's one of the few things that they put in the books, no matter which one it is, that you can always check for frame of reference. They're not allowed to change anything stellar. If you see them write about a star, study that intently, because that's one of the few things that, according to the rules of this universe, they cannot change that on Earth where it cannot be referenced with the stars. Any book that they call a religious book, if it got stellar references, that's your starting point. Match the stars up first. Then match the stories up that fall under the stars. And then it'll clear itself up. You won't need nobody to do it for you. You won't need nobody. So this is why they keep telling you that there's astrotheology in the Bible, in the Quran, the Judaic religions. All they telling you is that everything man can change on Earth, he can't change the stars in the sky. So your elders, your ancestors, was wise enough to know this. So everything they did, they tied it directly to the stars so that you can read it in real time as it unfolds on Earth. And that's why I pointed out when I was telling everyone Hiram was raised. The stars point to the Orion belt. Who is Orion? The great and mighty hunter. Who was the great and mighty hunter? Nimrod. Who was Nimrod? The one they feared. Who was the one they feared? The only one they couldn't defeat, Sun Wukong. Well, what happened to Sun Wukong? Sun Wukong met the Buddha. The Buddha sent him to tame his Sakoma, his monkey man. He named him Hanuman as he became realized because he said, the Monkey King told the Buddha that no man may become God. They can all attain the level of a Hanuman. Look it up. It's no secret. It's all there. And so, if the Orion is the great hunter Nimrod, and if Nimrod is the only undefeated Sun Wukong, and the Sun Wukong went to the Buddha, the great wise one, and the great wise one told him he had to attain the wisdom of the ages before he could rule. And so he went on a journey to the west. Where would he go? Where would he go? If he's going on a journey to the west, where would he go? So at that time, the west was Africa. So he went to the Congo. So this is why they call him the king of the Congo. And they use the symbol of the gorilla, King Kong, because the gorilla is the only major mammal on the continent of Africa you will not find in the hieroglyphics. Now you got to ask yourself why. If they knew about chimpanzees and orangutans in Asia, well, not orangutans, because they wrote about them over in India. But if they knew about chimpanzees in Africa, if they knew about baboons in Africa, and they knew about the elephant in Africa, and the lion, and the wildebeest, and they knew about stuff in the water that y'all ain't even seen yet in Africa, how the hell they didn't know about the gorilla? Well, spoiler. The only reason the gorilla is not in the hieroglyphics is the last totem clan to rise on Earth before the ascent would be the gorilla clan. So they were not allowed to use that symbol because the reign of Hanuman had not come. The reign of the Monkey King, crowned in the Congo, had not come. So they can't use his symbols prematurely. If they try to use his symbols, they would violate the rules and lose power instantly and ruin everybody's ascent, even though it's been evil, wicked, and painful. The whole purpose of giving her only begotten son is that no human be thrown away like trash and nobody be left behind who does not choose to be left behind. The only way you can choose to be left behind in the final ascension of this era is by choosing to do things that bring down your natural higher vibratory rate. You have to draw yourself down to becoming lesser than what you are. The more you try to become your best self, the more you can ascend and the more worthy you are to call yourself righteous. And this is why I say it's easier for a rich man to enter in through an eye of a needle it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a realization. When you get the comforts and you stop doing the self-work because of the comforts of the life, you forfeit your right to ascend because you are content being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. You're content with being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. So as long as the money is more important than your family, you ain't gonna make it. If the money is more important than your people, than other humans, you're not gonna make it. I'm telling you now, the money is the mark of the beast. Always have been, always will be. The money, the greenback, is the mark of the beast. But it's not the money. You gotta keep this in mind, because it said the mark is in your hands and in your head, holding the money and thinking about it all day. When that's your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. When your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. You are guaranteed not to ascend because you will not do the internal work that every Mason must do. He will not prove himself worthy before the Lord. In other words, these women is the precursor, the first recognition of your righteousness. And they're going to pass you. They're going to raise you and pass you before mama. And then mama going to call you approved or disapproved. Many are called, few are chosen. Y'all got to remember that. They took all of our story. They watered it down. They mixed it up. They added smear campaigns, damnation, condemnation, divide and conquer, separation, corruption. They gave us physical diseases and mental diseases. And all of these things is to stop our ascent. But without the opposition, you would never know how strong you really are. And we, being guardians of the galaxy, always knew we were strong. You always heard us talk about, even when they told us we wasn't shit, how strong we were, how great we were, never knowing that we wasn't even showing our greatness yet. The pyramids pale in comparison to the work that we did in the cleanup after these Babylonian vampires, bloodsuckers that required the blood rights. That's why it tell you clearly the Old Testament God required blood. The New Testament Christ requires righteousness. Do the math, and it's in your face. So it tell you in the New Testament that the Christ came that you can be free from the law and you can walk in grace. How do you do that? Because apparently we're not free from the law. What is the law? It's the law of the Levite. What's the law of the Levite? They're all in there. It's the law of levies, Levites, levies, and liens. Don't pay them folks no attention. I got you. Me and you gonna talk later. The system of levies and liens is what they call the Levite system. That's why it leads with the word levy. The word levy is spelled Levi. They want you to worship God because God is a truth. Now, if you know Grimm's Law of Grammar say all vowels and translation are interchangeable. One of the 12 tribes is called GAD, G-A-D, for they sing the truth. GAD is God. So you know you're worshiping now. So when you say GAD, you're still in their system. GAD is God. Not gut, not the German word for good. That's deception. I'm finna crack open some of this stuff before I wrap this video up. But that's a deception. Gad is who you calling on when you call God. One of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's why your prayers don't get answered, because he don't have the authority to answer them. Gad, that you're calling God, one of the sons of Israel, is not authorized to answer the prayer. That's why you have to attach it to the amen, because the amen has to exonerate him immediately when you say the prayer and call on God. The amen, the one who is ruling by deceit and deception, behind the scenes, that one has to immediately exonerate the tribe of Gad under the law of Levi. Now, under the law of Levi, when Levi issue a levy or declares you erring, and he issues a rent or a decree, a rent of war, a war rent for your detention, a warrant for your arrest, your restriction. He's binding you in the name of the law. You're bound in the name of the law. When you are arrested, the word arrest means to bound or restrict in the name of the law. So now, how do you get bound? Bound in the name of the law. You get bound in the name of the law as the resort of the war rent A war rant is a declaration of war on an individual, but it's metaphysical, not physical. But it will leak physical, but it starts metaphysically with the war rant. The war rant is a decree or a declaration of war. This is mysticism, and it's not what you would call law and truth. This is all of the stuff that's energetically being placed on you as a spell. The war rant is actually a spell. The spell binds you. In order to free yourself from the spell, you have to identify the rant of war. In other words, you have to identify, yes, GAD, the war rant, and you have to protest it. You have to become a Protestant. But when you become a Protestant and protest the war rant, you have to realize that you're doing it in front of one of the brothers, or a Judahite, or a judge. The judges are Judah. Judah is a judge, right? So that's why they're telling you that the Son of Man is from the line of Judah, but he's not of Judah. It don't make no sense. He's from the line of Judah, but he's not Jewish or a Judahite. He's not a Levite. He's not of the lawgivers. He's not of the lawgivers. And so, who does he fall under? He falls directly under the one that says beloved, or Dawid. He falls under David because he is an expression of Solomon. How do you know? Solomon means the soul of man. What's the soul of man? The soul of man is a piece of gold that goes in your heart. It's the soul light. It's the ray inside of you. It's your pyramid, the pyro, the fire in the middle, right? So when they gave us all of these stories, they never sourced them for you because that's your job. The right to discovery is why they created a library, in order to bury everything in lies, because you got to dig out the truth. That's your job. So they told you they destroyed the libraries of Alexandria. No, they in the Vatican. That's the Vatican library now, because Rome won that part of the war. You got to remember, they called it Alexandria. Who conquered? Alexander. Who was Alexander? Alexander was the one who went in the Indus Valley to get the military doctrine that he needed to subjugate the rest of the world. The caste system. The caste system had to be adapted. How do you clean up the genetic mess? You tie it back in the source. They call it tying into the vine. If they don't tie into the vine, the genetics fall apart. So, black people that's been oppressed for 400 years wonder why we don't get no awards at the Oscars and the Grammys, and why they don't recognize us when we sell 50 million records the same as they do with Justin Timberlake. You got the pyramids. You don't need that shit. You created music. You don't need no Grammy. You created that shit. You wrote the fucking notes. The original notes of music was written by black women, or as they call black goddesses, that they call them enchantresses. This is where it come from. So, if the white people that you see in the Caucasus, Yaqub's grabbed the devil, as the Nation of Islam call them. The word devil means your enemy. That's all it means. In nation doctrine, it means that which is not original. If that which is not original becomes in mediating conflict with that which is original until a synthesis is found. Hegelian dialectic. Hegelian dialectic. You know? So you got to find the synthesis. So what do? You tie in that which is defective into that which is not defective. For a period of time, you will oscillate between defect and no defect until balance is met. And that's the law of mind. So the reason why black people agreed to this suffering and oppression, because of the fastest way. And we were the only ones strong enough. And they was the only ones heartless enough. And when you put it all together and you do the math, you realize it wouldn't work no other way. We were strong enough, smart enough, and wise enough to do it, but we was too loving, kind, compassionate, and caring. We couldn't bring ourselves to oppress ourselves in order to clean the shit up. They never had a family. They never had what Gary called men of big affairs before the rise. Go back and look at the history from an outside perspective. You see it right there. So Mama wanted them to know what it was like to rule. And she wanted them to understand what it was like to be in power, have power, hold power, and fight the corruption that comes with the power. And so you hear them saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is all what we're talking about. And so, in summarizing it, the white people that was originally there don't exist no more. The level of birth defects is diminishing, so they have to artificially construct birth defects using the modern medicine and the poisoning of the child in the womb to simulate the birth defects that would not otherwise be there. When they stop doing that is when we tell them that we're not going to allow our women to be experimented on while they're gestating our next generation. And we will stop using hospitals for pregnant women, and all over you'll see what they call doula centers, midwifery, the original stuff. The doula center was the true sources of healing for Earth. And I see you giving me hearts because you're going to be in there on that doula center. You can give me a whole bunch of more of them. I see you. Anyway, so the doula center is where pregnant women go to gestate in peace. Now, the doula center is only necessary for special women because once the family structure is set up in its proper order, the doula center will be in the center of the village. And the women will naturally go there at the time they discover they're pregnant. And they'll stay there until they give birth because they're going to get certain things in the doula center that they're not going to ever get in a hospital. The hospital was never meant for sick people. You got to remember the hospitals were hospitality places for sojourners to go at night. Those were the original priestesses of Neith. And that's why the nurses wear the white uniform. Those were the uniforms of Neith. Those were her dress. You go back and look in the pyramids and you'll be surprised at how much Neith is dressed like a modern day nurse. Because her place of hospitality had nothing to do with the places of sex that they turned into brothels in the rape campaign, in the subjugation of the woman. And so now we got the whole story laid out in front of us when Constantine is putting this cross-dresser in the place of the Black Madonna in Rome. And because he done this, this dude been masquerading as the Black Madonna ever since. He's an imposter. The whole male priest, the only priest should be there is what you call your Swiss guard.